In 1973, oil crisis was a big event that dramatically changed the geopolitical panorama of the entire world as a result of the embargo imposed by members of the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries.
17th, reported by John Chancellor.
Good evening. The Middle East war produced developments all over the world today. The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon. They will reduce oil production by 5% a month until the Israelis withdraw from occupied territories. If the Arab countries keep that pledge, it would reduce their production by almost 50% in 1 year. There were diplomatic maneuvers at the United Nations, in Washington, and in Cairo. And there is a savage and possibly decisive tank battle raging in the Sinai Desert. The decision to cut back on oil production as a weapon against Israel was taken at a meeting in Kuwait, which was attended by the Syrians and the Egyptians as well. Less Arab oil won't hurt the United States much, but it will pose quite severe problems for the Japanese and especially for the West European countries.
On October 6, 1973, the war in the Middle East broke out, resulting in AOPEC proclaiming an oil embargo, thus causing a supply shock. That meant that the price increase in oil happened all around the United States and other Western countries. As you might not already know, an embargo is a protectionist measure by which a country prohibits the trade or other commercial activity to another country, and the immediate effect of this is to stimulate the price of oil to rise. Now let's have a look at the effects of the supply shock. In this graph, we are observing aggregate supply and demand in relevance to price and output. Due to the Yom Kippur War, OPEC decided to reduce the distribution of oil to Western countries, leading to an increase from $3 to $12 per barrel globally. Looking at this graph, the aggregate supply shifts to the left, showing an increase in price from P1 to P2, and a decrease in output from Y1 to Y2. So the economy reaches a new equilibrium, as you can see here from point A to point B. All of this resulted in the US implementing an oil rationing program in the hopes to reduce dependence on Arab oil and thus limiting the economic impact of the war. Though all of this resulted in anger throughout the American population as they felt restricted in their own daily lives. The oil rationing program implemented by the United States of America meant that people were only able to get petrol at a certain period of times. Here is an example. And in this, you can see a picture of a gas station in the United States of America. And as you can see, the lines are very large. So what was the effect of increase in oil prices? Well, as you know, petrol plays a very large role in society. It enables distribution. Higher distribution costs for companies will implement a general increase in price for all goods, thus diminishing the standards of living. On top of that, resulting to a very high unemployment rate. As a consequence, the Western central banks decided to sharply cut interest rates to encourage growth, deciding that inflation was a secondary concern, though ending up by creating a period of stagflation. As you know, stagflation is stagnation accompanied by inflation. It is an economic anomaly where high unemployment, due to the economic stagnation, is accompanied by high inflation instead of low inflation due to the falling demand. This was seen for the first time after the 1973 oil crisis. Looking at this graph, we assume that these cuts in interest rates, as you see here from R1 to R2, will increase the quantity of money from Q1 to Q2, thus enabling the new inelastic money supply curve to shift to the right from MS1 to MS2, resulting to a new equilibrium on a money demand curve. On this graph, you can see the total inflation in the US between the 1960s and 2015. As you can see, this oil crisis exponentially grew inflation to one of its highest ever in history. Petrol is one of the highest demanded commodities due to its usage. Just have to think about it. Most of what we do in our daily lives requires this commodity. It allows us to move from one place to another, and we simply can't achieve much by just staying in one place. Not only that, in the line of business, petrol is a major issue. It allows the distribution of products, the running of machinery, and the production composites, for example, plastic. To conclude, the 1973 crisis was a demonstration of how such political affairs can affect the economy as a whole.